This is the Barndo Tower Talks, your home for all things barndominiums. We're here to share tips, stories, and inspiration to help you bring back the American dream through Barndo builds. All right, let's get started. Today, we're going to talk about a few of the projects that we've already completed, and we're going to go through them project by project to really clarify some of the problems that the clients have, some of the design ideas that they loved, and some of the features that we still get great feedback out of those projects. So stay tuned. This is going to be a super fun episode, and I'm excited to dive in. The first project that we're going to start with is the Pierce project. This was actually one of our first Barndo builds, and the client came to us in 2020 and they wanted to build on a lot, and they had a few nice lots in mind. We went out and we looked at a few of the lots. We looked at a really wooded lot, and then the last lot that we ended up settling on was actually in a soybean field. So this project ended up having its challenges because of the long driveway. One of the things that the client specifically wanted is to be set back from the road a little bit, and because of the way the property was situated, we weren't able to get super close to the road because of the way the water drainage was on the property. Now the nice thing, because they had some wetlands and they had a little bit of a creek area, was they were actually able to get away with a stormwater exemption. So there was no stormwater for this property because of that. So the disadvantages was the property couldn't be set out, but the advantages was we skipped a lot of the stormwater and engineering cost because of the way the property was laid out. We ended up going with a really large front porch access, and the main entrance, actually right inside the main entrance, one of the design features that is really unique about this build is it goes up to the second floor kitchen area. So instead of having the kitchen area on the first floor, right inside the door there's a grand stairway. It was over 6 foot wide, and it leads right up to the second floor, which is where the kitchen area is. She wanted to have her main kitchen and living space up top just to capture some of the beautiful views in that area, and she was one of those that really loved the uniqueness of that layout. Now the other really cool thing about this project was it had a super large garage attached to it. So the garage attached to it was primarily for her RV. She had some toys there. She had a Nerf gun set up. There was a lot of activities for the kids that she had set up for this property and this project. One of the other really nice things that I loved about this project, and that was what was unique about it, was the way it was laid out. As you come up to the front of just a grand tower or a grand porch access where you have all of the stonework in the front, you're really able to dive in and see what the uniqueness of a Barndo is just by looking at the front of the project. So the grand entrance was definitely a huge success in this one. We always say it's good to invest money into the grand entrance because that's your curb appeal. This one was a stunning success on that part. The other unique thing we did here was we had a deck on the right side which came out of her main living area / kitchen area. So having that deck access on the right side, which was up on the second floor, also gave her the opportunity to eat outside, to gather outside, and have that easy access from the kitchen area. So that was the other benefit of having the second floor living space / kitchen area, was it gave access to the deck just with beautiful backyard views. And because of the way the woods was situated there was deer on the property, and she still comments sometimes on the wildlife that she sees on that property. So overall, the layout worked there. It wouldn't work for everybody, but it worked really well for her projects. Some of the really cool features that I loved about the project was the RV door. So there was a really grand door to put the camper or the RV in. That was something that she wanted one bay to be able to have it inside, and she was actually living in that RV until the project was completed. So when the project was started, she was able to bring her RV on site and then live in that RV until the project was completed. So it gave her a way to redeem some of the property value while this was being built, and also gave her front seat access to the build as it was being built. Another really nice thing about the Pierce project was we had a cupola uniquely situated on the top. So one of the things that we always tell people is if you're going to do the cupola, you want to be strategic about it. She just put it in the main top of the roof section. So that was something that just kind of set it off. She didn't put it on the house section, just on the garage section. So it made it look a little bit more like a garage, and it separated the main living space from the garage area. Just when you look at it from the outside, it created some separation there. So that was one thing that just kind of the cherry on top, if you will. A few really cool things on the inside. We'll kind of dive into the inside here. So some really unique things about the inside was we had a really, really large closet, and it ended up being a Lego room. She put shelving in there, and there was a lot of Legos and toys from her son, who enjoyed putting Legos together. So it gave it a great space to put that together. And then at the end of that hallway was a master closet just full of anything you could think of in terms of shoes and apparel. So it was really a long, unique way it was a closet space that ended up becoming a toy area as well. The towel shower, the barnwood style and the towel shower received a lot of compliments. This was a really unique thing. The freestanding tub, the slipper tub as we like to call them, was another cool thing about this project. And last but not least, just a kitchen space. A really nice, beautiful kitchen space on the area. And if you're not watching this episode and you want to see the inspiration photos, I would highly recommend watching this episode on YouTube and being able to see the photos behind it. But really, just to summarize this project, it was a soybean field that was being used for farm grounds. He was able to get a great deal on 19 acres of field just because of the way it was setting down lower. Wasn't really ideal farmland because of the water. The creek that was down on the bottom also kind of created some moisture issues with the land. So able to just, if you keep your eyes open and you're watching for property and you're able to pick up something like that, make sure you jump on it, because that is sometimes the more unique properties that might have challenges for farmland or something like that are the easiest to convert. So make sure you always check with a realtor, and then we always recommend coming straight to us with your property before you sign the purchase agreement, because that allows us to analyze the property and make sure that we're looking at it from a perspective of having to build many properties before. Gives us the unique viewpoint before you settle on a property. So if you haven't purchased a property, it's always great to get started on the design, get that process rolling, and then do the property search in conjunction with the design. All right, the other one we're going to go into now next, and this one was really unique, is what we call our timberline model or the 𝘗𝘪𝘰 project. So we had this one was designed previously by an architect before it came to us, and we definitely used some of the same inspirations, but we were able to really size it down and come up with a much better, more economical layout on this one. Some of the unique things that I loved about it is we did a basement, a daylight basement in this one. It exited out the back. We did a really cool 2-floor kind of patio area. So the first level right at the daylight basement was a patio area. Right above that was a second level deck. Same thing, it came out from the kitchen area. So the daylight basement is opposite of the main entrance. If you walk into the main entrance, you're actually able to either go up the stairs to your top living space or your bedroom area, or walk around that staircase to your kitchen area. And then if you go down the basement, you can walk out the back to the daylight area. So a really unique build, and the basement is always a really good idea if you have a slope where you're cutting into the side of a bank, where you're dealing with those grade challenges already. It allows you to utilize some of that retaining wall and conform it to a basement. So the basements are definitely a premium feature, and it's something that we don't recommend doing if you're limited on budget, unless, again, you're cutting into the side of a bank. Depending on your site, that is something that can be implemented, and you can kind of get the best bang for your buck there. A few other things on this project. Number one was just the grand living area and the wide open cathedral space. This was really the I would say the eye candy of the build. It had a wide open space from the loft looking down at the grand fireplace, and you had the timber framing beams up top that really make this space look like it's a grand wide open space, and it's also one of those spaces that you would just love to gather with your family for a Thanksgiving meal. Some of the challenges we ran into on that site was there was a building on the site. There was a post frame building on the site. However, to get approval for the house build itself, we had to go through land development. There was stormwater that had to be put in. The driveway itself was also a little longer than some. I would say probably about an 800-foot driveway to a 1,000-foot driveway on this one. The nice thing was the utilities were already back there because of that existing building, so it wasn't too hard to set that apart. The outside fireplace, this really is again a nice premium feature, having that outdoor fireplace, that stone masonry chimney. It really set well with the scenery and the atmosphere of where this project was located. A really good rustic timber frame look. We also added some really nice timber frame features on the top, and the porch space around the parameter on the front was one of the highlights that this client really wanted to be able to go out there, sip his cup of coffee on the front porch. And those front porches are a very common request for these barn dominium builds. One of the really cool things, off of the master bedroom on the second floor, we have a little bit of a balcony space, and this was set up so that he could shoot above from that space. So directly underneath of this is a daylight basement, so you're up really 3 floors at this point, and you're able to have a nice view out the back right off of the master bedroom, and he's able to really catch wildlife and be able to really enjoy that space just off of the master bedroom. Just a small balcony off of the back there that really highlights that. Another cool thing was there was a safe room that we created underneath the porch. So we were able to come up with a space that was underneath the porch that was that could be climate controlled and also very secure as a bunker room, because it's all concrete walls and concrete ceiling. So that wraps it up. To summarize that project, again, this is one of our model timberline, what we call our timberline model plans, and you can do it with a garage or without a garage. We chose to do this project without a garage for this particular client, just to save on the cost. They could reinvest some of that cost back into the building itself and do some of the cool features that we discussed. The garage can be attached to the left side of the build, and it is also something that can be phased if you choose to do just the build for now and do the garage as a phase 2. Obviously, it's ideal to do them together if you can, but if that is something that you want to consider as an option, we would just recommend making sure that you think about that as you're placing windows and doors on that left gable side where that garage would tie in there. So yeah, to summarize, the project was a really nice, unique project out back in the camera or out back in the field, and being able to just make the most of the scenery and the property there, perched up on the side of the hill a little bit, being able to view the buildings and the post frame building that is already there. The pole barn is just up the hill from there. That's the garage space, and then coming down to your grand entrance on the front of this build. Just again, a super cool timber frame grand entrance here that really sets this project off as a unique build. All right, so the last project that we're going to dive into is what we call the 𝘗𝘪𝘮𝘣𝘦 Barndo. So this one is a very unique design and a very unique color. So one of the key highlights that you're going to see from this is it has the copper colored roof and the black siding. Really makes it pop and sets this project apart from a lot of other projects. It's just the way the color schemes work together. One of the nice things about this project was there was an existing septic system on the property. This property was somewhat developed, even though we had to put in a new system. Being able to work with any existing utilities, even if the septic system isn't active anymore, can make it a lot easier for permits in the long run. So something that we always like, if the property has some kind of connections, it helps you get started. Not that you can't build from scratch, you can absolutely build from scratch. However, to be able to have some kind of start will really streamline the process sometimes and expedite it, especially if you have a septic connection and or a well connection as well. So some unique design features on this project was the grand wide open timber frame area. The gable comes out an additional, I think it was approximately 25 feet or so comes out, and you're able to have that space away from the weather without sacrificing. You know, you can put picnic tables out there. You're able to, that's your grand entrance. That's where you come into the front. But you're able to also, you could really park little cars under there if you'd like. The uniqueness about this build was really that front carport / porch area. One of the things that I also love about this property or this project is when you walk in the front door, you're immediately looking at the kitchen area. The way the kitchen was placed and the island that's your wow factor when you come inside. Obviously, the original wow factor is just that grand porch coming in through that round window up at the top perch. This was a very unique feature of this build as well, the little round window at the top, and then walking in those front doors and seeing the grand kitchen area. This one was all first floor living. It did have a little bit of a space up in the attic. That was something that they had requested just as a spare bedroom, but for the most part, everything was one floor living on this one. So those are the type of things that you really want to think about as you're dreaming about your floor plan and thinking through how you're going to use the building, who's all going to be in the space. Age in place is a big thing. You want to make sure you're planning ahead for anything that might happen 10, 20, 30 years down the road. And doing what we call an age in place, first floor living, can avoid having steps to deal with, whether your grandparents come over or even just age in place for you as a client. Is always wise to keep that in mind as you're designing the project. The other thing is, as a first floor living, you're able to really think efficiently about your space and layout. We have a couple really good model plans that outline that first floor living well. So if you're a minimalist and you'd like to have your things convenient and close by and not have to go up and down floors, sometimes this is a very great simple setup for a smaller family that just wants everything compact. So that wraps up that project, and if you have any questions on any of these projects, I'd be excited to set you up for a discovery call, and we can always review these projects together. We can look at our different model plans, and we're able to really guide you into what's the best for your property and your situation. Every property is different. Every project's a little different, but starting with some good base model plans and being able to get a good idea of what you want first, and then fitting it to your land, or if you already have the land, doing the project to best fit the land is the best way to get started. So I'm excited for the next episode that we have coming up here. We're going to dive into a little bit more of the financing side and the land search and how that works. If you're just very new to this journey, like and subscribe, and stay tuned for our new content coming out. Thanks for joining us on Barndo Tower Talks. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to follow the show, like, and subscribe, and share the podcast with a friend who's dreaming about Barndo living. We'd really appreciate if you'd leave a review that helps the podcast get more ears. We'd also love to hear from you. Send us your questions and ideas for future episodes. Until next time, remember, we are bringing back the American dream through Barndo builds.